Now, the current UKIP leader, Nigel Farage, joins us now. Why have you left your party in the lurch? You're the only...
No, I haven't done that.
You're the only famous face that they've got. No one's ever heard of
Left them in the lurch. We've just come second in a national election.
Why have you stood
behind
down?
the Conservative Party, who incidentally campaigned on giving the British people a referendum and have now turned turtle on that.
I'm surprised.
We've never been more successful. Well, I thought it was worth doing. And we beat Labour. And we beat Labour into third place. So there we are.
It would take you 5 seconds.
Look, the party is in good shape. I'm running a group in the European Parliament. I'm going to have a go against the Speaker, John Bercow. We're going to field 550 candidates in this election. The whole thing has become way too much for one man to do.
But you're the only... Well, hold on. David Cameron's got to fight his constituency, and Gordon Brown his in Scotland, and still run a national campaign.
I think it's a little different. They're both incumbents in safe seats. They are the political leaders of parties that have a big infrastructure. UKIP doesn't have that. The leader of UKIP has to manage and organise national election campaigns.
You're the only one we've ever heard of. No one's ever heard of
hey,
these
I'm
people.
not running away. I'm not deserting. I mean, I shall go on, you know, doing media work and being out, doing the public meetings and all the rest of it. What I can't do and couldn't do is take on the responsibility of managing a national general election campaign.
So it's someone just keeping your seat warm then until you either win or lose in bucks?
Well, look,
because you're fighting the Speaker in bucks,
I am,
right?
that's right. That's right.
And so win or lose, you got to apply for that, get down to that, win or lose, then you come back as leader of UKIP.
Listen, there are 5 candidates standing for leader of UKIP.
That's now.
Only one
just
of them,
keeping your seat warm.
Only one of them is a serious, credible candidate, and that's Lord Pearson, who's had major achievements in his life in business and in politics too. If Lord Pearson gets that job, and I'm still around leading our party in the European Parliament, I would argue UKIP is stronger and would be for several years to come.
So if it's not Lord Pearson, you'll end up with an incredible leader?
If it's not Lord Pearson, things will be tricky, yes. But I think it will be Lord Pearson. I think he is so head and shoulders above all the other candidates.
He's a kind of one-note song, though, isn't he? Every time I bump into him, all he says is, no one ever talks about leaving Europe. Why don't you?
I think that's wrong, Andrew. I mean,
that's all he's ever said to me.
Hang on. This is the man. This is the man who recently caused a furore in Westminster by inviting Geert Wilders over to talk about fundamental Islam. So it's certainly not a one note, is it?
All right, 1.5 notes then.
Well, no, come on. I mean, he's a campaigner for freedom of speech. And of course he's a campaigner against Britain's membership of the European Union. I mean, goodness sake, over 75% of our laws are not now even discussed in the House of Commons. They're made, somewhere else.
To be fair to you, Michael Howard was making that point.
Yeah, well, it's right. And it's about to get a lot worse, too.
What will your... I know you'll get a lot of coverage come the election because you're taking on the Speaker and because it's you and it's UKIP and some people may... And what we as journalists wonder is how many Conservatives who don't like the Speaker may come and vote for you. So that's the election there. But what are your goals? What is your strategy in the country come the election?
My suggestion to the party, and this must be debated when we get the next leader in a couple of weeks' time, my suggestion is that we target the marginals and we make the point that there are 3 political parties, Labour, Lib Dem and Conservative, who've openly lied about giving the British people the opportunity to have a referendum on their future, on where their law... And don't shake your head, Ben, it was in your manifesto in 2005. You are the worst offenders of the lot. The worst offenders of the lot. And if you're going to argue that Lisbon isn't constitutional, well, goodness me, let's have another programme, Andrew, please, and thrash that out, because it jolly well is. I think we should fight those marginals, we should pour our money into those marginals, and raise this whole question of there being a referendum.
Before I bring in Michael Howard, could you just tell me, though, what you mean by a marginal? I mean, a seat in which the Tories are, say, 1,000 votes ahead at the moment is theoretically a marginal, the polls would suggest it isn't. Are you going to target seats that the Tories think they could win?
As things stand at the moment, it looks like there are going to be more Conservative voters than any other party next year. What is more difficult to say is, will they have a clear majority? And if UKIP being there makes the likelihood of a hung parliament much greater, that might just encourage some people in the Conservative leadership to give the British people what they deserve, and we haven't had a chance since 1975 to express an opinion on whether we govern ourselves or not.
That's pretty clear cut. Michael Howard, what are you going to do about it?
Well, Nigel knows perfectly well that if he and his candidates do intervene in marginal seats in that way, the most likely outcome of their intervention, if they succeed as they would like to, is a continuation of a Labour government or a Labour Lib Dem government, which would hand more powers over to,
No, it
to
wouldn't.
the European Union.
With Lisbon, it's
which
gone.
would-
It's
which
gone
would
already,
be,
hasn't
Which
it?
would be precisely the opposite of what Nigel says he wants. The only way in which we can have a sensible renegotiation of the package is the way in which David Cameron and William Hague have set out, where we will go to Europe with some specific requests, and I think there's a very good chance that we will be able to deliver on those requests.
Pre-Lisbon, Michael.
They're very specific.
Pre-Lisbon. Pre-Lisbon, that may have been the case.
Of course we need unanimity. We needed unanimity for Margaret Thatcher's budget rebate.
That wasn't a treaty change, was it?
It
It wasn't a treaty change. It's a very... You're talking about changing treaties. You know it can't be done. You're just deceiving the British
I'm
public in the
dealing with the
voting
point of the need
It's not
for
honest, is it?
unanimity.
Yeah, but the
Margaret
Tory-
Thatcher needed unanimity
Right,
for
but
her
Nigel
budget rebate,
Farage's
and she
point
got
is
it.
that was a money argument. It didn't need a constitutional change.
Absolutely.
Your aim is not to renegotiate the Lisbon Treaty, as I understand it.
Our aim is to deal with the specific things which David Cameron and William Hague have identified, to bring back power in relation to those things to this country. For example, the things which were originally in the social chapter, which we won an opt-out from at the time of the Maastricht Treaty when I was employment
What happens if they
secretary.
say, forget it?
Well, that's exactly the kind of argument that was used when Margaret was
Oh,
trying
you
to get the
moved on.
rebate. People said that sort of thing then.
Are you-
and
well,
she was persistent, she was patient, and she got what she wanted.
I've kept
and I
that
think
out
we can do the same thing.
Because I think it's probably to his benefit that these two just argue.
Absolutely.
but it would be rather ironic if Labour held on to some seats where the Tories are challenging at number 2, the moment breathing down your neck, because a number of people voted UKIP.
Well, I mean, I don't want to intrude on their private grief. I mean, I have to say, I would like to speak up for the Speaker. I do think it unfair that UKIP are, I think, breaking a convention by targeting
In
against...
1987,
Well,
Labour stood
Scottish
against
Nationalists-
Bernard Wetherell in Croydon
The
North
Scottish
in
Nationalists stood
1987.
against Speaker
Come on,
Martin.
this is
the
ridiculous.
mainstream, if they claim to be a mainstream party...
This
they
is
go to the
nonsense.
convention. And actually-
1987, you stood
and
against
actually,
Bernard Wetherell.
John
What
Bercow
sort of
is very
convention is
popular
that?
in his... I mean, he's not a Labourer, he's a Conservative MP, but he happens to be a very...
Bernard Wetherell point there, don't you? I would just say,
I didn't even hear what
well,
he was
Labour
saying.
stood
He
against
shouts
Bernard
all the
Wetherell.
time.
Is that what
You
you're
don't
saying?
want to listen, do you? That's why.
No. Are you saying Labour stood against Bernard Wetherell?
Yes, in 1987 in Croydon North. So what are you talking about?
Well,
There is no convention. It's
Don't you
the
remember
cosy
that?
modern consensus.
No, I think-
You're
There's nothing
basically
else in Croydon.
you're indistinguishable from each other these days.
Are
aren't
you worried? I don't mean you personally, because I know you're phlegmatic and never worried these days. Are the Conservatives worried, though, about in these marginals where the Tories need a swing and just that extra 300 or 400 votes would clinch the seat for them, and actually they go to UKIP?
Look, of course we're not complacent.
Because you're not giving us a referendum
well,
either.
we're not complacent. We always said we would give a referendum if the treaty wasn't ratified, and alas, and I deeply regret it, it has been ratified. But we are not at all complacent. We want every single vote we can get, and the one thing that people will have to remember is that if they want a Conservative government, and if they don't want a continuation of Gordon Brown, the only way they can secure that at the general election is by voting Conservative.
Now, you're standing against the Speaker because you said that MPs have broken the trust of the British people and the Speaker hadn't stood up for them. That's a kind of hard line to, a hard row to plough when one of your own MPs has just been stuck in the slammer.
No, it isn't, because that MEP, when he came to Brussels in 2004, I put a code down that I asked them all to obey by. He refused to do so. He then, when he was found out, lied to me, and for that reason, I took the whip away from him. You know, in every party, in every company, in every family, there are bad apples. The question is, how do you deal with them? And in UKIP, we've been absolutely ruthless.
Maybe a few MPs from Westminster should be stuck in the slammer for fiddling their expenses.
Well, that's a matter for the police, but certainly some have already had the whip removed, haven't they?
So you've all been tough, you think?
Well, I can only speak for our party. Gordon Brown's removed the writ from people. He's made it quite clear that some people can't stand again, and that any criminal matters are rightly not matters for party leaders, they're matters for the judicial system.
Okay. Is Lord Pearson going to win?
Yes,
He is. So you'll be all right.
I should be very happy.
We'll have to apologise.
I should be very happy, and UKIP will be a lot stronger.
Okay, I have a feeling it will be coming Buckinghamshire way come the election. Thanks, Nigel
Look forward to
Farage.
it.